All right, everybody. If you could take a second to finish your thought, give your last hug of the moment, and have a seat. Carrie. All right, friends. This is a pretty good gathering here for a Thursday night in the summer at Temple Emanu-El. Not bad, friends. So in a second, I'll introduce this lovely guy over here. But first, a little bit about why we're gathering and who we are. And those joining us online, for the folks online, I'll say who I am. I'm Rabbi Rachel, one of the rabbis at Temple Emanu-El, and this is Rabbi Max, one of the other the other rabbis at Temple Emanu-El, and Miller. We're married. It's not about us. Okay. So, and tonight is a really special night for our community, for me personally. I can speak for him on this and say for Omer as well. Omer here was our Shin, that stands for Shnat Sherut, which is the year of service that some Israelis get selected to do between high school and joining the IDF. And so he got placed here at Temple Emanu-El as one of his placements, as well as Davis Academy, and he'll say a little bit more about that as well. And I had the honor of being his direct supervisor, which meant that I got to tell him what he was going to be doing in our community, to work with him on what he wanted to do with our community. And he left here in his exit interview with me. He said, I came here as an Israeli, and I'm leaving here still Israeli, but also in many ways a proud Reform Jew. And so in that way, we knew that the full circle of the relationship had been formed, that our kids here were fully impacted by Omer. Us personally, and our relationship with Omer truly grew, and we have been texting frequently since October 7th. We've texted frequently for the past 5 years. But as many of you know, I started maternity leave on October 7th after I finished Torah study that morning with Simchat Torah. And soon was texting this guy over here, and spent most of my maternity leave every couple of days texting this one, and when he didn't respond after a few days, texting his mother to make sure we were doing all right. And so he'll share more about everything that you expect, I think, based on the name that we gave this event of On the Edge of Gaza. And he's added a battle between monsters and humanity. And it is both a sacred honor and in many ways a pleasure, though the topic is not full of that, but to pass over the microphone, which he's mic'd up, to Omer, who will share his he will always just be Omer in my heart, but he has special full titles that I'll let him share. So please give Omer a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming and for welcoming me back to Temple Emanu-El tonight. It has been 5 years since I left Atlanta, left Temple Emanu-El, and a small part of me was left behind. And I have since and will forever consider this place my home, or a second home, so my mom back home wouldn't kill me. But as I told Rabbi Max and Rabbi Rachel, walking in 2 hours ago, pressing the camera and telling the administration office, hey, it's Omer, can you let me in, threw me back 5 years earlier to me being a 18-year-old kid, straight out of high school, not knowing.
And then he knew that the doors were new. He
Yes,
said those
the
doors look new.
Walking in, felt, well, this place looks incredible, looked incredible back in 2018, 2019 as well, but looks very renewed and beautiful now. But walking in here as an 18-year-old, I had no idea what I was about to do with my life and the massive impact this year was going to have on me. and this beautiful community as well. And to be here back as a 24-year-old, ready to share this actually unique and in some ways beautiful experience of what I've have experienced over the last 5 years and since October 7th. And I know saying unique and beautiful about experiencing a war is weird, but I will tell you all and you will understand why I'm saying what I'm about to say. So I think let's get going.
Yeah, and so we are going to have, it's sort of like a conversation style between the three of us, and then we did take questions at the over email from those who registered. And if we have time and you have questions, you can
Please
always
write them down
on the paper that
and
we didn't
hand them
give
to
you.
me.
And hand them to Rabbi Max. He's going to go grab some paper and pencils, and they'll be made available on the table over there, Rabbi Max. And if anybody wants to submit a question that way, we can do that. But Omer, so more formally, can you just remind us a little bit of how you even came into a Shinshin program, and who did you stay with, and what had the biggest impact on you in the program?
Happily. My story or my experience with the Jewish diaspora community started back in 2015. I was a track and field athlete for the St. Louis team for the Maccabi Games, the 2016 Maccabi Games. I was not good at either track or field, but I do come from a small town in northern Israel. Can you not? Hold on. Wait, let me. Yep. Is it better? No, it's definitely not better. No, it's definitely not working. Maybe just move to Is that better? All right, wonderful. Sorry. So I come from a small town in northern Israel called Yokneam. Some of you all might have heard about it. It's Atlanta's sister city for the Jewish Agency and the Jewish Federation. Yokneam and the Megiddo municipality are the partnership areas with St. Louis and Atlanta. And as a 15-year-old, I was handpicked, not really, to be a track and field athlete for the St. Louis team. And that's how being hosted in hosting and being hosted over in St. Louis with some beautiful Jewish American families got my gears going about wanting to learn more about what it is like to have a Jewish community abroad. I applied for the Jewish Agency's program for Gap Year Emissaries back at the end of 2016 as a high school student, and when I was graduating high school, I was sent over here to Atlanta to be part of the Shinshinim program, Shinshinim being Gap Year Emissaries, and I had the biggest luck being hosted with officially 2 families, but also 3 who are also here tonight, with Julie and David Weiser, who are my first family, and with Kim and Richard Kopelman, who were my second host family, and took me into their homes and to their hearts and have been family for me ever since. And I don't say that easily. Just being able to come back and forth and stay in touch with them for 5 years without being able to actually meet just shows how incredible that connection is. And also the incredible Levy family who took me to their home non-officially, but raised me as a non-official 3rd host family. I was here from August of 2018, I think, until August of 2019, working with different institutions around town, being Temple Emanu-El, Temple Bet Tikva, the Davis Academy, the JCC, and many other programs and institutes around the Jewish community and Atlanta in general. Me and 7 other Shinshinim were the 2nd year of emissaries for the Atlanta Jewish community, and that has been going on ever since with some changes during COVID. But that's been going constantly ever since 2017 and forward. That year has shaped me into the man I am today, and I mean that very seriously, showing me what it is like for you all to choose a community life of Jewish community. Every morning is something I never had to experience. When you wake up in Israel, you're in a Jewish community, and each and every one of you choosing to wake up every day and proudly wear a Jewish identity made me realize what being Jewish is all about. And that affected me very deeply, and also somehow connected to my military service in unexpected ways, but we'll go over that in a few slides.
So, Omer, why don't you tell us a little bit about, you've told us what you were doing here in Atlanta. How about from the time that you left, August 2019, through up to October 6th? What were you doing in the military?
Yes. So, as it says here, August of 2018, I joined the Shinshanim program. I enlisted on December 7th, it says November, but December 7th, 2019. I enlisted through the IDF and got selected for the 101st Airborne Battalion, part of the IDF's Army and the infantry. I went through 8 months of basic training, which consists of pretty much everything you think of, from field to rucking, marching, marksmanship, I was working on urban warfare, field warfare, jump school, and many other different things. That was the first 8 months of my service. On November of 2020, I became a sergeant and served for 6 months in the West Bank in the city of Hebron. As a sergeant, I was vice to a lieutenant, and we were in charge over a platoon which consisted of about 30 soldiers, making all different tasks in the West Bank to keep civil life at peace for both sides. Very long nights, very short days, not much time at home. That was full on during COVID, so I was home about once a month and was pretty busy for the rest of it. In March of 2021, I joined the IDF's Officer Academy, which was during Operation Guardian of the Walls. You might, if some of you remember, some of you may not, there was not a ground operation in the Gaza Strip, but it started after a massive mortar attack on the cities and towns around the Gaza Strip. The IDF deployed almost every ground troop that was out of training to the Gaza border, waiting for command. We were there for about 30 days under heavy mortar fire, watching over civilians, making sure the cities and towns stay as safe as possible. That operation ended with an aerial attack from the Israeli Air Force and did not involve ground troop movement, but was definitely a meaningful, important part of my service, letting me realize that being ready to go from 0 to 100 is not just a phrase. I think it was Sunday morning, we got into base from home, and Sunday night I was at the Gaza border, fully geared up, waiting for a breach command, basically. I graduated the academy as a second lieutenant and served in the Golan Heights. I got that mixed up as well. I was second lieutenant for 9 months in the West Bank in the city of Nablus and in the southern Golan Heights, training a platoon of 20 soldiers. I was in charge of a military drone unit, the first one in the 101st Battalion to be in charge of a drone unit, working to provide intel for ground forces from inside and outside of urban areas. I did that for 6 months until the military told us that we are ahead of our time and the military is not yet ready for drone units, and that unit was closed down and reopened a little time before October 7th, and they have proved their usefulness in multiple occasions during this latest war, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of the process that have brought drone warfare into the IDF. After I finished my service in the West Bank, I moved on. I got promoted to be a first lieutenant and moved back into the academy. I was training cadets for the better part of 8 months, training Army cadets from all different units of the Army, from infantry to artillery, some Navy SEALs, Israeli Navy SEALs, to become the best that they can be and earn, unlike the US military, all of our officers come from enlisted. We enlist as privates and go up in the ranks to become a sergeant. Afterwards, you can apply for the officer academy. So that way you know what your troops are going through when you become a platoon leader. And that's what I was prepping my soldiers for. I was in charge of directly over 60 cadets and indirectly over about 400 over that course of 8 months. And I am very, very proud to say that each and every one of them is now showing what they've learned in all borders of Israel and are achieving very significant military achievements in the latest war. So in March 2023, I joined the 202nd Airborne Battalion, which is the sibling battalion of my former one, the 101st, and I became a vice captain. I was a first lieutenant. I was the vice captain that was in charge of a company called the Chetz company, Chetz meaning arrow. It's an acronym we'll go over soon. This is the ultra-Orthodox company of the Airborne Brigade. I'll go over that in a second. I was there from March 2023 until last January. For 11 months, I was helping train a company that, I'm not going to spoil it, but have achieved incredible feats over the last war. As I said, Chetz company, standing for Charedim Tzanchanim, or ultra-Orthodox airborne men, was founded in 2016, consists of 50% lone soldiers, meaning 50% of our soldiers either do not have family support for religious and belief reasons, or are born outside of Israel and have made Aliyah or joined the IDF. Actually, I'm very proud to say that one of our troops, Shneo, this guy right here, is Atlanta born and raised. Yes. His parents are not here tonight. I forgot to send them the invitation on time and they were preoccupied. This is on me. But they are very proud of his service, and I can tell you this guy is one of the best light machine gunners I've seen in my life, and he has a reputation to prove that. Those guys joined the military for 2 years, which is a bit shorter than the usual mandatory time of 2 years and 8 months. Now it's 3. They do all come from ultra-Orthodox lifestyle or a background. They all either actively ultra-Orthodox or have came out of that way of life and do want to practice it while in service. They get full religious privileges, which means they pray 3 times a day. They get 1 hour of Torah study each day. This is a company that has male access only, since they're all Shomrei Negiah. This is the only company that has no female trainers or cooks or whatever job you can think of. It is all male, and this is how they serve for the entire 2 years of time, 2 years of service. Then they do 1.8 years of combat service, including 8 months of basic training. Then they go on for another year, 4 months of it within the military, of social and educational reintegration. They finish high school studies if they're missing it. They go through some college prep. Some go to trade school, depending on what their goals in life is. We actually help them to find their goals in life after the military, and then we help them go back to society as proud men. So let's start talking about what we're here for. Just in advance, if I do get a bit too graphic or a bit too personal, please let me know. I spent the last 4.5 years training for stuff like this. It obviously affected me, as it would affect any other human being, but we are more conditioned to see and talk about stuff. If something gets a bit too graphic, please let me know. October 7th, I was back home. It was Shabbat. I was sleeping. 8:43 a.m., my mom barges into my room, wakes me up, tells me, hey, war has started. You might want to check your phone. You have been called on base. I tell her, yeah, whatever, and I go back to sleep. 8:45 a.m., my captain, Gal Shabbat, Zichro Livracha, calls me, and he says, I don't know if you heard, there's a war. I'm going to need you in this whatever town as soon as possible. By 8:48, I was already in my backyard, fully dressed in gear, having a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette, as one does when he's being called out of bed to go to war. And by 12 o'clock, I was already in Sderot. Let me go over that in a second. October 7th had 1,145 casualties, the day itself, out of which 301 military men killed in action. I'm not going to go over all the list. You can see it by yourself. Policemen, Israel National Security Agency personnel, civilians, firefighters, everyone. There is not a single soul or branch of responders or any person in Israel who has not been affected to any extent by the October 7th attacks. On the bright side, we have eliminated over 1,600 terrorists that day alone and have captured and interrogated over 300. The numbers grew massively in the operations to come, but that was just October 7th itself. On the right, you can see me and one of my personal squad troops. That was October 10th, I think, in Sderot, fully geared up. That's the gear a usual infantryman carries. You can see our backpack, which weighs about 100-something pounds, a plate carrier, our M4s, all the gear. This is what you would usually expect an 18 to 20-year-old infantryman to carry into battle, finishing basic training. On the left, you can see the road leading up to the kibbutzim around the Gaza Strip. Being there was the first time it actually clicked that we are under war. I spent the first 5 days of the war doing what I was told on autopilot, doing what I was trained for, and it feels, you know what you're doing. You're carrying a gun, you're eliminating terror attacks, you're killing terrorists. You know exactly what you're doing, but the mind is not active. You go completely on autopilot because that's what you've been trained for the past 4-something years. But it was only then when I was driving down that road in a Humvee full of soldiers when I realized the stench of the bodies, the extreme heat, and seeing all those cars of innocent civilians, when something actually clicked and I was like, okay, this is not a drill, this is real, we are at war. And that is something that resonated and sat with me ever since, and still does today, thousands of miles away from home. We arrived at Sderot at 12 o'clock, high noon, guns drawn, like every good Western movie starts. We were told on the way by our captain, you're going to see some very nasty sights. The only rule is, we are not stopping. There's a location we have to go through. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, you are not stopping. We cannot help anyone right now. The city is full with terrorists. We have to go and get a certain area to get to, which probably contradicts everything you hear about the IDF. Our first and foremost goal is to help civilians. But if everyone just walks into Sderot and starts helping injured civilians, the army cannot do what it needs to do. There's a command center that was started in Magen David Adom station in Sderot, where each of us got a certain neighborhood in Sderot, which we had to clear, make sure there's no injured civilians there, eliminate any terrorists showing up, gain control over the neighborhood, and move forward. I spent the next 36 hours doing that, nonstop, with basically no knowledge what's about to happen, shreds of information about friends on the border who lost their lives, names were starting to come over, news from neighboring companies about terrorists jumping out of trash cans, out of sewage manholes, thank you. Walking into civilians' houses and seeing terrible, terrible acts of inhumanity, with one clear goal. We need to make sure that these civilians can go to bed safe tomorrow. No matter how long it takes, by tomorrow night, people can go asleep. And I'm proud to say we did. Took us a bit longer than 24 hours. We completely regained control over Sderot by, I think it was October 9th morning, but we did. And Sderot was fully under control by October 9th. And about a week or two later, civilians started coming back after we made sure it is habitable again. Story was different in different kibbutzim and settlements around the Gaza Strip. I'm sure you've seen some pictures, you've heard some news. Be'eri, which I'll show you soon, was completely destroyed. So was Kfar Aza, Nir Oz, Nachal Oz. All those different kibbutzim and towns and cities were hurt bad. And the probes are coming back. The army started investigating each and every encounter we've had, and we slowly are getting insight of what has happened, and we are learning from those incidents. This is I took that picture. On the right, you can see a car that's blown. Oh, shoot, sorry. On the right, you can see a car that has blown up from a mortar impact. For those of you who don't know, mortar is a man-operated missile that is fired to a distance of about 6 miles. Completely unaimed. They basically put this big of a rocket inside a tube. They go in, a pin knocks the rocket, and it goes off pretty much wherever the cannon is aimed for. The main goal is to first spread fear, second, give minor injuries to everyone nearby. It is not meant to hit a direct target, basically just make as much damage as possible. This one made a direct hit of one of our cars, which you can see goes up in flames right there. On the left, this is not a sniper. I'm not sure how to call that. Oh, memorial. Thank you. This is a memorial made for some of the Operation Strong Edge victims in 2014. We took over that memorial as it was on a hill and gave us the best range of view, which is kind of absurd, being on a military memorial conducting a military operation. What you see here is a light machine gun operator aiming towards Gaza. 5 hours after this picture was taken, 2 terrorists across the border that you can see right here into those forests. And I'm very, very proud to say that it took us less than 5 minutes to take them down. The second they were recognized with thermal sights, I made the call, we got the improvement, and they were not able to hurt anyone. 2 days later, their bodies were found, and we were told that they had carried anti-attack weaponry, grenades, and enough supplies to last at least a week. So they definitely, that was October 8th afternoon, so they were definitely planning on extending their invasion many, many days. This is the city, or was the city of Khan Yunis. It looks much differently now. This is the aerial attacks you can see October 8th. Every pillar of smoke you see is another successful Israeli Air Force attack. On that day, it's the road itself. You can see the numbers: 50 civilian casualties, over 30 police casualties. I don't know if you know what happened in the Sderot police station. I don't know if that story came here. I'm not sure how many, but multiple terrorists barricaded themselves inside the Sderot police station, and we had to literally collapse the station upon them just to make sure they were killed. Kids, we tried everything from SEALs, like Navy SEALs, not actual ones, from SEALs to tanks to helicopters to successfully eliminate them. They were barricaded so well that we had to literally collapse the building on them to make sure they were killed. Be'eri. Be'eri has become rightfully the symbol of the October 7th attacks. This kibbutz was completely destroyed. These are not pictures I took. They're much too good. But they show you the story of what Be'eri has gone through. About almost half of the population of Be'eri was either killed, hurt, or kidnapped in the October 7th attacks. One of the stronger and bigger kibbutzim on the Gaza border was completely demolished. And we've encountered monstrosities I'm not going to tell you about, but any bad thing you can imagine has happened on those in those houses. You can see the body bags, the burnt down cars. Those things don't happen by themselves. Entire families wiped out. Children, babies, elderly, every cattle, pets, every single living creature was hunted down and killed by those monsters. A lot of good men. We lost a lot of good men in Be'eri. Yeah, thank you. Let's go into the Gaza Strip. Now, this panel is called On the Edge of Gaza because I've never stepped foot into Gaza. I'll be honest with you. I was retired right before my unit went into Gaza. The company you've seen, Chetz Company, has operated and still does inside the Gaza border. And everything I'm telling you now was either sent over to me from their body cams, was told to me by them, or by some other close friends in the military. I moved to become a reservist in January 11th, 2024, and was moved up to the northern border and have not been deployed since. So I have never stepped foot into Gaza. I've spent my last 5 months of service, 4 months of service on the border itself, dealing with everything that has happened within Israel. But since it is my company that went in, I know exactly what has happened inside. Jabalia is one of the hornet's nests that is named a city in Gaza. I call it a hornet's nest not because I have any bad feelings towards them, just because it's one of the most condensed cities that have terrorist tunnels and terrorist cells running between buildings inside civilian areas, so that we as IDF men and women, cannot operate safely without making the decision every single time whether this person we're seeing on the street is civilian or a terrorist. I'm going to tell you one story from Jabalia, a story where I lost 5 friends in about 24 hours. 6, sorry. But on the bright side, we have rescued 4 bodies of Israeli hostages. Story starts May 13th, where a neighboring company goes into an ambush and had 6 soldiers injured, and they were all evacuated safely and made full recovery ever since. They're back in their homes. But that day, I was already out of service. I texted my captain, hey man, I heard some stuff is going down. Make sure you stay safe. I never got a text back until 2 days later, where he texted me, yeah, I almost stepped on an IED, but IED is an explosive device. I almost stepped on an IED, I'm all good, you don't have to worry. I was relieved, only I didn't know that text was sent to me 2 days earlier, but only got sent the day it was sent while he was on the operation table with doctors trying to save his life. On the morning of May 15th, my captain, Gal Shabbat Services, was shot by a Hamas sniper, and 3 days later he was presumed dead. That have left my company without a commanding officer, with one of the lieutenants, his subordinate needing to step up, and that has left the entire region very tense. When something like that happens, especially when you don't eliminate the sniper who has made an impact on your company, everyone is on pins and needles. You do whatever you can to eliminate that terrorist to make sure the region is safe again. My friend, First Lieutenant Roy Bet Yaakov Zichro Livracha, found a tunnel hole which led to the rescue of 4 hostages' bodies. But as they were evacuating the bodies, one of the soldiers' barrels was taken out of a window, which made one of the army tanks think it was the barrel of a sniper, the same sniper they missed that morning. One thing led to another, and the army tank made a mistake, shot our troops. and unfortunately cost the lives of another 5 people, including Roy, who was a close friend of mine, and Daniel and Ilan, who were 2 of our troops. Gilad, Shashua, and Betzalel were also, I did not know them personally. They were older troops in the company, but they unfortunately also lost their lives in that encounter. I am proud and happy to say that we in fact dismantled the Jabalia battalion of Hamas. And as for now, as far as I know, the IDF has cleared that area of terrorists, and hopefully it stays like that. I'm going to show you some pictures from Gaza, different neighborhoods, either from Gaza City, from Khan Yunis, from Rafah, from Bet Hanun, all over the strip, taken by either my best friend, this guy named Ol, taken on his personal camera, or by a fellow Shinshin from Toronto named Tai. He's a reservist in one of the IDF's UAV units called Skyrider. All the pictures and videos you're going to be seeing are taken from their personal body cams. This picture on the bottom, if y'all can see it, is what you find in, I would say, an average military base in Gaza. We have Palestinian flags, we have Hamas flags, we have AK-47s, kafiyas, grenades, maps, rocket launchers. What else can you see here? You got some IDF gear, so they make sure we mistake them for our men. That's about it. Can you just get one slide forward? Yeah. Next one. This is what a normal Hamas military base looks like. It's just a house. They took over the house, they cleared it out of civilians for the good part. If not, they made the Gazan civilians stay inside, and they declared it a base. So every time we walk into a house, it might be a normal house, it might be full of IEDs or landmines, or it might be a full-on military base. All right. This is what it looks when you find a terrorist tunnel in a Gaza neighborhood. It is, as you can see on the left, it is very well made. It is all made with aid money that we send over for them to get food, water, and supplies. They make the best use of it and kidnap hostages and store them inside. This is what it looks like on the outside. This was very well excavated by some D9s and some tanks. It is usually hidden much better. This is what it looks like inside. On the right, you can see, well, on the left, sorry, you can see my best friend Or. He serves in the IDF's Airborne Reconnaissance Battalion. Very nice guy. Yeah, I'm going to show you 2 videos. First one being from Tai, from the Skyrider unit. This is what it goes. This is how it looks in the eyes of a normal infantryman in the IDF. Keep in mind, Tai is my age, he's 24, but most of the soldiers are anywhere between 18 and 60. There's no sound, but this is a normal Gaza neighborhood, full of debris. You never know where the next threat is going to pop up from. I would love to mention out Israeli tanks with Israeli flags on them, because you have to be proud of where you come from, wherever you are. But as you can see, walking on, rucksacks full to the brim, 100 pounds of equipment, plate carriers, guns drawn. They do keep morale high, as you can see on this guy's face. And this is something we as leaders really struggle with. When you fight for 30, 40, 50, up to 100 days without a break inside the Gaza Strip, no contact home, no shower, living on MREs, something that is very hard is keeping morale high. But a good thing is our troops know they're fighting for the right cause. That they are fighting for the continuation of the safety of the Jewish community worldwide, not just in Israel. And as you can see, morale is high. What I'm going to show you, the next one, is the destruction of one military base in Gaza. Just so you get I'll let the pictures speak for themselves.
And at first, I questioned when he just sent it and I didn't have any context. I was like, am I really going to show this video? So the disclaimers are, there were no deaths involved in this video. And he made a good point to me of why we should show it, which is, yes, it looks like apartments and homes, but as we saw from those other pictures, it was full of military terrorist gear, and so that's what we're watching.
Yeah, they sure do go out with a bang. This used to be, up until, I don't know how long ago, up until Hamas took over that building, that used to be a normal apartment building. We go in, we clear it out, hopefully with no casualties, civilian casualties. And once it is thoroughly swept through, made sure we got all the intel we need, and make sure everybody in a very big radius have cleared out. You saw how big the explosion was. The radius of safety is far. We make sure that this base is no longer usable, as you can see. Do you have anything else?
That was fire from the Merkava.
Sorry?
The tank fire, the Merkava fire?
No, that was, no, Merkava would make, Merkava is an Israeli-grade tank. It's pretty much comparable to the Abrams one you have in the US Army. I'm not going to go to which one is better because I'm Israeli patriotic, but this is a whole different discussion. But the Abrams is very impressive. This was done with landmines. Landmines. We dig out some small cavities in the walls of the house. We surround it and install explosives inside the walls. It is actually done by military engineers to make sure the building collapses, mostly within itself. I mean, stuff goes out because it's explosives and there's a radius of collateral damage. But it is done very thoroughly, and they make sure it does the least damage possible with explosives and landmines.
So, to share a little bit about what comes next in the program, that this was one really big introduction into the time to have questions and whatnot. So again, I'm gonna go through the questions that were submitted, and if you would like to try to submit additional questions, you can head over to our newly made writing table to write out those questions. And just to give everybody a heads up, at the very end, with the last 15 minutes, Omer has a number of people that he wants to pay tribute to and to tell us a little bit about those who lost their lives serving. And then we'll conclude with Achenu, a prayer for the hostages, Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish for those that we are remembering, and I'm sure we will break out into a rowdy Am Yisrael Chai at the end. But first, a few questions, and of course, thank you, Omer, for sharing this story with us so far tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And so as promised, nobody asked an easy question, of course. And we often hear two different sides on social media, in the media, everywhere, in regular conversation, that there are no innocent people in Gaza. And of course, there are innocent people in Gaza. So what is your opinion and why?
Just before I answer any of the questions, I would like to reinstate, I am not an IDF spokesperson, and never have been, and I'm no longer serving in active duty. I'm a reservist, so everything you have heard tonight and any answer you will get to the questions are from my personal experience and from personal opinions. I cannot and will not speak for the IDF. This is way too big of a job for me, but I will gladly answer any questions that you have. And as regarding the first one, I wholeheartedly believe that there are innocent people in Gaza. Every place on earth, no matter what came from it, has innocent people. I do also believe that when Hamas took over the Gaza Strip, they have used different methods of mental and physical manipulation and torture over the citizens of the Gaza Strip to make at least the most of them believe that what happened on October 7th was the right thing. There are innocent people in Gaza, in my opinion, and I wholeheartedly believe that. And I also know from experience that the IDF orders soldiers to not hurt civilians as much as possible. And I don't know if it's a question that comes up, but I am gonna say that this is, in the history of modern warfare, the war with the lowest rate of terrorist to civilian casualties. We have a 1-to-1 ratio. Most wars have the 5, 6, or 7-to-1 rate. We are currently on a 1-to-1 ratio. For every terrorist killed, we kill one civilian, and again, it is never intended.
Can you tell us, what does victory look like to you?
First and foremost, bringing back hostages, all of them. Hopefully, alive. Whoever is still alive, bringing them back alive. Also, bringing back the hostages from 2014. We have 4 hostages in the Gaza Strip that have been there since Operation Strong Edge. Victory means bring our people back home. Second, dismantle Hamas. There is no right for a terrorist organization to rule over people of Gaza or to keep threatening the people of Israel, ever. Third, if possible, dismantle Hezbollah in the northern border. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes in the northern border starting October 7th and forward, and there is no reason people should live in fear everywhere. So neither the people of Gaza and Lebanon should not live in fear under the rule of a terror organization. So bring our people back home, dismantle Hamas, and dismantle Hezbollah.
What do you see as Israel's role in a post-war Gaza? What do you see as Israel's role in a post-war Gaza?
I can say that up until 2005, we had tried to be fully in charge of the Gaza Strip. That has proved ineffective. 2005 forward, we let them be in charge. That worked for a while until Hamas took over. I think there's a necessity for us to help the people of Gaza regain control of their lives and help them have better opportunities, whether it comes to education, whether it comes to construction, whether it comes to healthcare, or everything that includes that. Whether we need to govern or have an armed control over Gaza, I do not know, and I definitely don't know enough to have an opinion on that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you. Okay. So one objective in the north by the IDF, according to a handful of articles, is to push back Hezbollah to north of the Litani River. And with over 120,000 rockets, some long range, how would that allow 60,000 residents to go back? Or would it?
It's a heavy one. I can say that the IDF has put his focus lately on the southern border with Gaza, and we have not seen, to any extent almost, what are the capabilities of the IDF are against Hezbollah. I know for a fact that we can and will handle Hezbollah, however that looks like. If it's a political or diplomatic agreement, I don't know. If it's a military operation, I do not know. But I do know that we've been doing pretty well over the last 70s. What year is it? 2024, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So over the last 76 years, the IDF has been doing pretty well. And I know that we are able to push back Hezbollah or destroy Hezbollah, whatever the chief of staff and the prime minister thinks the goal is, and we will get our civilians back to the northern border safely. I do not know how that will look like, and that will definitely consist on casualties, civilian and military, on both sides. It's war, and it's nasty business, and it's unfortunate that innocent people die, and I wish that didn't have to happen, but that's what war is like. But we will do whatever it takes to make sure the people in Metula or the people down in Be'eri, the people in Kiryat Shmona or Kerem Shalom can go to sleep at night feeling safe, whatever it takes.
What is your sense of how the average Israeli feels about the war in Gaza?
As I said in the beginning, there is not a single person who have not been affected to any extent by October 7th or the war coming up. There's not a single person who doesn't know somebody who knows someone who was either kidnapped, hurt, injured, or killed over the last 9 months of the war. I think the opinion split in two ways. There's some people, they both agree on the fact that the war needs to end somehow and that we need to have our people back home safely, and that we need to send the people back to the borders, to their houses, feeling safe. The opinions either split on we should do that in an armed operation and keep fighting until we make sure there is no more threat, and there's the opinion that feels that we need to diplomatically solve that conflict. What I do know is that there's not a single Israeli who does not want to see our 120 hostages back home safe, and not a single mother or father who do not want to see their kids back home and out of uniform for a good period of time.
What do you think about, do you believe the IDF is currently satisfied with the support from the U.S.? And I guess I'll go with, I'll leave it vague.
So,
Answer as you wish.
I am not in any position to say what is the IDF's satisfaction with U.S. support. I can personally say that me being a first lieutenant, which is, I don't know how well you know military ranks, is somewhere down here, a very small cog in the system, have personally felt American support, which is incredible because you have proved over the last 76 years, but especially during this war, that you are and will be our strongest ally. There is no argument to be made about that. We need you, and we need your support. I do not know if the chief of staff needs more bullets or rockets. No clue, he never told me. I've been trying to get a text back for months. But I do know that we feel the support, we cherish it, and we thank you for it. I really, really do know that.
What do you see as the political future of Israel, and what does the government look like in 1 month or in 1 year?
Big one. I am not satisfied with my government. I don't think any person anywhere is fully satisfied with their government. That's the point of having a government. Some people are not satisfied. I do know that people are working day and night to finish this conflict one way or another. Do I think there will be an election coming up? Yes, definitely. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be an election. I do not know what the outcome will be because wars are very challenging politically, especially when you're not sure if you're losing or winning. And to the public eye, we are not sure if we're losing or winning. I'll be honest with you. We are factually winning because a loss would mean the destruction of the state of Israel. And the loss has not happened in 76 years. It's not going to happen. Israel is not going anywhere. There's no doubt about that. We're not going nowhere. We are going to win. The extent of the win is arguable, and there will be an election. Do I think there needs to be an election while we are at war? Definitely not. Whether I agree or disagree with the government is really not important, but there needs to be one chain of command that is consistent from beginning to an end, because if you start messing with the pawns while playing chess, the game got to restart, and there's no restarting for this. Will there be an election? Probably. Will the government look different? Maybe. Every poll says a different thing. And I've learned from the last 7 elections that political polls don't mean much. But we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting. I'll tell you that. It's gonna be very, very different, and it's gonna draw out major protests from either side. Whoever loses is gonna be very angry. But every side was angry for the past. I think that's the Israeli spirit. We gotta fight about something. I mean, might as well be elections and not this.
So there were several questions about civilian casualties. And so I'll just kind of throw summaries of those questions out to you, such as like, how do IDF soldiers on the ground in Gaza feel and deal with the fact that they may be the cause of those innocent civilian casualties? And how do you respond when we're in conversation with people about Israel and about the war, that Israel shouldn't be killing civilians?
I'm gonna start with the second question because it's important. Watching the news, I know that you all are having a difficult time. It is scary out here, I bet. And I told Rabbi Max and Rabbi Rachel a few days ago that I think it is harder for you all out here than it is for us back home. It is easier, at least for me as a soldier, to solve an armed conflict with an armed conflict than it is for you guys to be threatened either verbally or physically for your identity. And there is nothing, it seems like there's nothing you can do. And that is terrifying. And I fully appreciate each and every one of you for not giving up. It is incredible and it is heartwarming, and I do not say that lightly. What I can say is that I've had more than one encounter over my last 4 months in Asia of people not judging necessarily, but very much interested about the situation, sometimes just unknowingly asking questions in a, I would say, disrespectful manner. We got to remember that everyone is entitled to their opinion. We also have to remind ourselves and everyone else that Israel is not out killing civilians. That's not a thing. We don't go house to house and shoot innocent people. Never has been a thing, never will be a thing. That's not we don't do that. There are civilian casualties, thank you, as there have been and will be in every war until the end of time or until robots take over and do our wars for us. I don't know how it's going to go with AI. But civilian casualties are a thing that happens, and it is extremely unfortunate, and it's also unfortunate when you hurt your own civilians. And that has happened to me. That has happened to my friends. We have hurt innocent Israelis. Friendly fire, which is an awful term, but it is what it is. Friendly fire happens. It is terrible. Civilian casualties have happened, will happen, and are happening right now. The IDF mistakenly shot and killed 3 hostages a few months ago. That is terrible. Terrible. People can try and make it look like we are so trigger happy that we kill our own hostages, or people can actually look into it and understand that you've seen a small piece of what Gaza is like. Soldiers are under extreme stress, under extreme pressure, and need to make life-altering decisions any given second. You do not know if the next step will be your last one, and you have to be completely okay with it. You need to know that whatever decision you make might be your last decision, and that's fine. That's what life's about now. And the conversation needs to happen, and people are entitled to their own opinions. We are not going anywhere. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. The state of Israel is going to stay the state of Israel, and it's going to be a homeland for the Jewish people for times to come. That is a fact. We are not just walking around killing civilians. That is also a fact. We just need to remind ourselves that people are entitled to their own opinions, and it is more than okay to walk away from a conversation and say, let's agree to disagree. Some of you might be disagreeing with me right now, and that is completely okay. That is totally fine. We're all adult people. We can have our own opinions. We can have our disagreements. That's the second question. The first one of how to deal with a civilian casualty. First of all, I would like to say that for me, personally, pulling a trigger was never easy. Never was, probably never will be. You train on those paper targets that look like a terrorist for years, and then you look up in your scope and you see a person. No matter if you see the white of their eyes or if they're 200 feet away. It's a person, and when you pull the trigger, if you're good enough at what you do, they stop being a person. And that is terrifying. That is something that no matter what you train and how hard you train will change you forever, period. You are very happy that you've made your target. You are mission-oriented, and the mission was complete. People are now safe. You're less happy when you find out that you may have hurt someone who was innocent, or even worse, you've killed an innocent person. That is something that me and my friends and everybody who's ever hurt an innocent person will always have to live with. And it's okay. It's terrible, but it's okay. The IDF has military shrinks, and we have doctors, and we have people on the ground with infantrymen and with army men, and every single IDF personnel can at any time raise their hand, say, I need to talk to a shrink, and they will get a full psych evaluation, and they will get the treatment they need. I am very proud to say that from the day I was enlisted up until now, I am being treated by the IDF, and they have been doing an incredible job. I am pretty well together, maybe even more than I was before I joined the military, but that's for them. I have friends who are in rehab and have been taken care of by the military. The IDF knows that what we're doing is not an easy task, and they are making sure to make it as easy as possible.
What can we do from here in Atlanta to best help the IDF, to best help the state of Israel?
First of all, keep doing what you've been doing. Being proud in who you are is more than enough already. It is not easy being Jewish anywhere, basically. Never has been, but definitely not now. It's not easy, and being proud of who we are is incredible. I will say that Israel has never been very good in public relations. We don't do well on the news or social media, as well as back home. We really like to get ourselves in a mess. What I will say is having civil conversations, talking eye to eye to a person who may not agree, keeping the conversation nice and friendly, no matter what they say. I think now is more important than ever being the bigger person. If you walk up to someone and they start a conversation, or you walk onto a social media comment or a story or a post or whatever that you know for a fact is a lie, and it's usually very easy to spot the lies. They're not really thought through. They're pretty, I'm not going to say stuff because we're in the chapel. In a friendly way, let them know they're wrong, invite them to a civilized conversation. If they accept, have the conversation, either change their mind or agree to disagree. But show them that our side, the other side, is just as human and just as normal as each and every one of them. We do not want this war. We never started this war. We literally did not start this war. We woke up on a Saturday morning being under invasion. We will do whatever it takes to make sure we go to bed safe at night. But we did not want to start this war. We just got to mind the other side. Well, there's three sides. There's our side, there's Hamas, and there's anyone who tries to get involved. We cannot change Hamas's mind. We've tried for many, many, many years. This is done with. I usually don't give up on stuff. This is done. But we can try and change the mind or the perspective that other people have on us. And this is what we got to do.
Up until most recent years, 22, 23, 24, October 7th, have often spoken in terms of two-state solution. And there's been a lot of chatter about there's no way for a two-state solution. What do you think?
I'm too young and unqualified to answer, but I will try. I'm very happy that I'm not the Prime Minister, because there is no piece of land I am willing to give back. Do I think there needs to be a solution? Yeah, obviously there needs to be a solution. Am I willing to give back land that Jewish people live on? No. Do I want to accept 2.5 million Palestinians into the Israeli government system? Also, no, because that will make it a non-Jewish state just by them being the majority. Do I think there needs to be a solution? Obviously, the Gaza Strip might be a solution. I don't know. They're already there. We don't have Jewish settlements, cities, towns over there. That might be a solution. Honestly, I think we're way too far ahead to even discuss a political solution right now. Maybe in 5, 10 years, I don't know, once every kibbutz is back on its feet and there are no more Hamas and Hezbollah, and we can have a peace agreement with Lebanon, and we can figure out a government for the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian Authority. Maybe then we can discuss any sort of political solution. Now is definitely not the time.
So this is one more of current events now in Israel. In the last few weeks, the Haredim have received their Tzav Rishon, their first notices to report to the Lishkat Gius,
Recruiter's office. We'll call it the recruiter's office.
The recruiter's office.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
What do you think about the integration as being a commander of a Haredi unit? What do you think about the integration and the enlistment of the Haredim into the IDF?
Can we go back to that slide, just so we have that picture proudly posted back? This is what Haredic integration looks inside the military. That's not the only option, but this is proud religious Jewish people fighting for their homeland without giving up their religious privileges. I was proud, as Rabbi Rachel said before, someone who considers himself a proud Reformed Jew, to be part of that company. I do not share the exact way of life. We do not share the exact same belief system, but at the core of it, we're Jews fighting for our homeland. There's nothing more sacred and more enlightening than this. True humbling experience. I think that it is about time that we integrate them into the military. I think there's plenty ways for them to be part of the IDF. They don't have to do combat. They definitely don't have to serve with women if that's their way of life. I think women in the military have definitely made my service a lot better. They bring a whole other point of view, and they prove themselves so well on the battlefield that doesn't need to be a discussion whether we should have female combat vets. We definitely should. They can have their way of life within the military. We have complete units designated for it. They can pray 3 times a day and can only eat a certain shechita, and they can do whatever they want. Honestly, every aspect of religious life they choose, they will get. But how do you call not a tourniquet, not a gurney?
Gurney. Stretcher.
Stretcher, thank you. A stretcher is really heavy if only 4 people carry it. Right now, we only have just a few people carrying the stretcher. We need every single person to go under that stretcher and help carry the weight of protecting the Jewish state. It is what it is. I had Christian, Druze, Muslim, Bedouin friends protecting our homeland. All of us need to, honestly, in any way, shape, or form.
So that was all of the questions that came in have really been wrapped into the set presented to you now. And so we thank you for that question and answer session. Applause. And there were a few things that were written that I just want to say out loud. A thank you so much. It's a hard enough job without the world tearing you down, and we're so proud of you. Someone else wrote, thank you for your service for both all Israelis and the Jewish people, especially in one of the most difficult wars in the history of warfare. I think that's all I got right.
Thank you for listening, first and foremost. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are. And thank you for not letting me off the hook and giving me, no, seriously, thank you for making me answer difficult questions. I love that.
And so we have about 14 minutes left together, military time. And so we'll take a few of those for you to take a minute to honor each of the people you're remembering today. And like I said, we'll close with Achenu and Kadisha Toman. So for these last few moments, we'll be in memory. And then I'm pretty sure Omer will stick around for a few minutes if people want to come shake his hand and whatnot out in the lobby afterwards.
All right. The people I'm about to talk about are men who have personally either fought side to side with me, shared some time in the military, or have shared a deep, meaningful experience at a certain point of time and have lost their lives starting October 7th and on. Unfortunately, this is not the full list of brothers and sisters I've lost in service along the way, but these are the men I chose to talk about. First and foremost, Major Gal Shabbat, Zichro Livracha, served in the 202nd Airborne Battalion. He was my commanding officer and my brother, my captain, as was his rank at the time, for my last 6 months in the force. Gal lost his life in the sniper attack that I told you about earlier today. Major Jamal Abbas. Yes, he is Druze. Served in the 101st Airborne Battalion. He was a lieutenant when I was a sergeant back in the West Bank. One of the most impressive men I've ever met. Went on to serve in Sayeret Matkal, one of the highest, most elite units that the IDF has. Moved on to captain school to be a commander of a company, and has lost his life with his radio technician, Shachar Friedman, in the Gaza Strip. Inspector Alexei Shmaklov. Alexei and I only knew each other for a very, very short period of time. He served in the NCTU, which is the Israel National Counter-Terrorist Unit. I'm not sure how can I explain. These are guys who are post their mandatory service. When we met, he was 35 in the officer academy. I was 20. Left everything he knew, joined the Israeli Border Patrol, and then went to extreme training to become the IDF's most skilled unit when encountering precision terror attacks. He was killed in the Sderot police station, trying to save some of the policemen who were inside, and was killed on October 7th. Dekel, some of you might know the name. Captain Dekel Suissa was a close friend of mine, and a former Shin Shin in Atlanta. We served here together from 2018 to 2019. If any of you knew Dekel, he was as tzaddik as it gets. A true man of his word, a brother in the full meaning of the word, just an incredible person. When we finished the gap year, he moved on to a different second gap year in Eli, in the West Bank, to deepen his connection with the religion, and joined the Maglan unit, which is an Israeli Commando anti-tank unit. After Officer Academy, he was reassigned to the Golani 13th Battalion and was killed protecting his troops on October 7th in the Paga base on the Gaza border. Dekel itself was found surrounded by 5 terrorist bodies that he took down personally, and there are evidences of him taking down about 40 more, 40. as in life, he was good at everything he was doing, especially taking down terrorists. Yaron Eliezer Chittis, Captain Yaron, was a close friend of mine. You can see his flag on a table right outside those doors. Yaron and I met at the academy as lieutenants. We served together for 4 months and became close friends for the rest of the time. Yaron was killed on December 26th, I'm pretty sure, in the Gaza Strip while conducting an arrest of some terrorists. Served in the Shaked battalion in Givati. Captain Roy Bet Yaakov was my subordinate. He was the lieutenant leading the platoon you just saw in the former picture of Chet's company. He's actually pictured there in the middle. I was handed Roy right out of the academy and helped teach him how to be a better lieutenant. And together we helped his soldiers straight from the enlistment office all the way up to Gaza to become what they are today, which is incredible soldiers. He was killed in Jabalia in the friendly fire encounter with the tank I told you earlier about. Captain Roy Nari was a close friend. We went together to sergeant school and the officer academy. Was hurt on October 7th and presumed dead on October 8th whilst protecting Falaza. Captain Shlomo Ben-Nun, 202nd Airborne Battalion. We went together to the academy. We served as colleagues in the force and was killed on a friendly fire incident in the Gaza Strip. Captain Ron Shlomi. Rom and I went together to the academy. Rom is part of the 5101 unit. It's the Israeli Air Force Commando. They're equivalent to your Air Force Rangers. Incredible man. Was actually not in a combat assignment when October 7th happened. He was a navigation officer for his unit. He was in charge of navigation training. But being the man he is, he grabbed a gun, ran on, and was killed in one of the kibbutzim on the Gaza border, taking down terrorists and saving lives. First, Staff Sergeant Ophir Tzioni was the younger brother of one of my friends Nir. We grew up together. He was assigned to 51st Battalion Golani, served. He was about, I think, a month away from being retired from the military. Was killed protecting his friends on the Gaza border. Yosef Itamar Bruchim was a logistics NCO and combat soldier on the 101st Airborne Battalion. I sent Bruchim on his last mission. He was in charge of getting a Humvee and water to my company on October 8th in Sderot. On his way to us, he was hit by a mortar and presumed dead the day after. Incredible man, great smile, always knew how to cheer people up. The last two are Daniel and Ilan. Daniel and Ilan are like brothers to me. They were part of Roy's platoon. He was their commander, and they were my younger brothers from the day I picked them up from the enlistment office until the day they died. Were born in the same incident as Roy Bet Yaakov, the friendly fire tank exit incident. Incredible man. Daniel was a great chef. Ilan, they were both lone soldiers. Daniel for family reasons, and Ilan made Aliyah from Argentina. Incredible guy, did not know a lick of Hebrew when he just joined the force. Still didn't know much Hebrew when it happened, but that was not the reason. Really, just the funniest guy, great sense of humor. These and many, many, many more are the friends I lost along the way. And something they don't tell you when you become a commander in the military is that your job doesn't end when you retire. I lost friends along the way, which now I have the duty to carry their memory and let it on to you. I have families who I not physically take care of, but their families who part will and always be part of me, and I stay in very close contact with. And it's part of the job. The job is not done until the job is done.
And so we're going to take a second to remember them. And so I want everyone to take a minute and to really see their faces, maybe pick one name, and that's the name that you really hold in your heart for Kaddish Tom, for Mourner's Kaddish. If everyone will rise, I do have the words for the screen. Where's the view show? We'll join together. Yitkadal
Yidkadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute.
B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shmei Kedusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Tamiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be forever a blessing. And Rabbi Max, if you'll say a few words about Achenu. Achenu is a prayer that we actually don't know its origin. It's that old and that ancient in the Jewish people from over 1,000 years ago, but it's a prayer that we have been saying when there have been those who are lost, who are captured, held hostage across sea, across land, and these have been the words that the Jewish people have said for hundreds of years, praying for their safe return. And since October 7th, we have been saying these words here at Temple Emanu-El each and every Friday night.
And so we invite you to join us in singing these words as we pray them. If we go out of tune, we go out of tune. Just feel it, okay?
Achenu kol Beit Yisrael. Achenu kol Beit Yisrael. Hanetunim betzara. B'tzara uvashivya, haomdim bein bayam uvein bayabasha. Kom yirachem, yirachem alehem v'yotziem mitzara. Lirvacha u'me'afel aleora. U'shiabud ligeula hashta bagala uvizman karev.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael,
Am Yisrael chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu,
Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you, everyone.
Please join us in the lobby to greet